I have felt more decent this past week than I have felt in potentially years. Now, I want to tell you about my intentions for this week, just in case you're curious. I want to ask my trip. I'm getting ready to go into my second ketamine treatment session, and I'm ready to trip. I I'm not feeling nervous at all about this. I'm actually kind of excited. I want to give you an update about how this past week has been. I go in to treatment in 90 minutes. So in about 2 hours from right now, I'm going to be tripping, which I'm excited about. I want to just lay down a disclaimer here that I am in recovery, and some people I know are concerned about my sobriety. My nurse practitioner is not concerned about my sobriety. She trusts me with my decision making and my ability to just say no to other things. I am not going in there to get intoxicated by any means. It's not an intoxicating effect. It is psychedelic. It absolutely is psychedelic at the dose that I'm being treated at, but it is prescribed and supervised in a clinical setting. So I just want to be clear about that in case you were concerned about my sobriety. I appreciate the concern. So I have good news to report. My studio is actually clean. I mean, it wasn't, I've said this before, it wasn't in super rough shape, but it was easier this week for me to stay on top of things. My dishes were done throughout the week, which is something I've been really wanting, rather than doing it, twice or once or none in a week and just like, I don't know if anybody else does this. Tell me in the comments if I'm not alone on this, that sometimes, and even still, even though I'm up on my dishes, sometimes I just rinse things out. My laundry is done. I mean, I need to do another load probably tomorrow, but I did laundry for the first time in probably 3 or 4 weeks it had been since I had done laundry. I really needed to do it. I also updated my playlist because I skipped through a bunch of music last week that was a little too chill, a little too relaxed and mellow and slow and low. I wanted upbeat, fun, instrumental. There's this genre. Let me know if you've heard about this genre. It's called swamp tronica. That's what Dirtwire is. There's a bunch of Dirtwire on this playlist and some other things too. I've never heard of swamp tronica before, but when I was creating my list, that was the genre that Dirtwire is classified under. So I am looking forward. I wanted to listen to it this morning when I got up and had my coffee, which that's a whole other thing. I did not have coffee last week before my trip. I did this week. I woke up early enough to have some coffee before I had to stop drinking regular food or drinking food, drinking beverages other than water. So I woke up at 5:30 this morning so that I could have coffee and a snack. And then had to stop eating 4 hours before, and then I have to stop drinking water, like I mentioned earlier, 2 hours before. So I'm within all those parameters. Doing good today. I have felt more decent this past week than I have felt in potentially years. I only started tracking my mood within the past couple of months per the recommendation of my therapist, and it has not been good. This week, the numbers improved compared to how they've looked the past few months. I felt better than neutral. Neutral, I put myself a 5, makes sense, right? A 5 out of 10 is neutral. And so if I'm feeling worse than neutral, I rate myself below 5. And on the contrary, if I'm feeling decent, I'll go above 5. But I've had no above 5 days. Looking back on there was one day that I rated myself a 5.5 a few weeks ago. That was relative, I think, to my moods prior because I was having threes and 3.5s and having to call my therapist and check in daily with her. Thank God this past week, it's been like sixes across the board, except for Thursday, I gave myself a neutral, which is better than bad. So I'm really loving the effects that I'm getting just from the first treatment. And yes, it was a full day of downtime, but to feel neutral or better than neutral instead of feeling horrible and like questioning what the point of life is, because I didn't want to live that way anymore. I'll take neutral and a little bit better than neutral any day over a 3. And even as I sit here, I almost didn't start recording this video because I was like, I gotta figure out what I'm wearing. And I haven't bought new clothes in so long. I have like 2 hoodies. Remember, I'm coming from living in my car, so a tiny Prius, a tiny Prius, not your normal size, like a tiny Prius. So I need some new clothes and I feel motivated. Actually, I feel motivated to go and get some new clothes. So for now, I don't know what I'm going to wear today. Maybe I'll just wear this, but I care. I care. And that's actually the point that I want to make is that I care. A couple weeks ago, I just didn't even care. That's not true. I did care. I just have the motivation and energy now to take action to improve my life, I guess you could say, as is evident by the dishes, the laundry, and then I'm thinking about shopping this week, which will be super fun. I haven't done that in so long, but I really love, I mean, not necessarily that I love the process of clothes shopping, but I like having the new clothes. I have a smile on my face. This is good. It's a good sign, I think. I went grocery shopping yesterday because I know that I'm going to be super tired. Today is probably going to be a wash in terms of when I get back. If it's anything like last week, I'm going to curl up in a ball in bed, not eat or drink much. So in preparation, I actually have already drank 2 liters of water this morning, but I had to stop drinking water 2 hours before my session. So now we're in that time. I've got about, what time is it? I got to leave in an hour and 15 minutes. So I stopped drinking water about 45 minutes ago. Oh, I was talking about grocery shopping. So the reason that it's a good thing that I went grocery shopping yesterday, maybe I kind of already went into this, is because tomorrow when I wake up, if it's like last week, I'm still going to feel a little out of it. And I'm not supposed to drive for 24 hours after treatment. So I made sure to have all my groceries and everything bought and stocked yesterday so that I don't have to worry about that tomorrow. Even though I'll be fine to drive, I thought maybe I can go run some other errands and not have to worry about the brunt of, grocery shopping and hauling all the groceries and all that. I could go do something more enjoyable tomorrow. I have felt more decent this past week than I have felt in potentially years. The one thing that I thought was kind of odd, but then it's not so odd when I really start thinking about it, is that I haven't been going to yoga well, that started a couple weeks ago actually, because I've been climbing more. And I didn't climb at all this week. That being said, something kind of made me uncomfortable. Last Friday, I went in and it was just me and one other guy in there, and he made me kind of uncomfortable, or like I was uncomfortable. with him. So I left, and the intention that I set for my last session was to feel safe. I have a PTSD diagnosis, and so something that my nurse practitioner told me she wanted me to focus on with my therapist, and in terms of setting the intention for my session, was to feel safe. And so it was kind of threw me off that my intention was to feel safe, and yet I didn't engage in activities that I normally have been doing for the past several months that bring me joy and that I really like doing. So in retrospect, though, it makes sense because I did not feel safe with that guy. I've never seen him before. He looked really out of place, and I'm not trying to like unload my discomfort on you. I'm just saying to make a point that it's interesting that I didn't go. My intention was to feel safe, but I think I didn't go because I want to feel safe. So rather than in the past, I've gone places and just thought, well, it's my responsibility to feel safe wherever I'm at. I think this week I felt more safe avoiding potential places where things could go wrong. So that was, I kind of see both sides of how it could be a positive and a negative thing that I didn't engage with yoga or climbing this week. But hopefully next week I get back into that swing of things. And if I don't, then I'm going to need to work with my therapist on that, because that doesn't seem like a positive thing. But I do want to get back. I'll give myself some grace. I just started this treatment. Also, I started making cookies for my building. There's about 8 people that work in the building that I live in. And so I'm making a double batch of cookies for them. Can't quite place what's different about the cookie, but it's that sourdough cookie. So good. So, so good. So I tasted the dough last night. So I mixed them up last night. They're going to ferment over the weekend, and I'll bake them up tomorrow and bring them some cookies. So all this being said, I think there were some really positive things that came out of my first week. And although I wouldn't say that I'm just like magically all better or anything like that, I have improved, and I love improvement. I'll take it. I will take it. Even though it's like I would say 1 or 2 steps above where I was at before treatment, but improvement to me feels so satisfying. So now I want to tell you about my intentions for this week, just in case you're curious. So like I mentioned before, my intention for last week was to feel safe. And I still want to bring that intention into this next session, because I definitely don't want to fall into a bad trip. But I also want to focus on meaning and purpose. That is a essential, very important part of recovery, is having a sense of meaning and purpose. I want to ask my trip what the point of life is for me. Like, why am I here? I don't necessarily want to ask what the point of life is. My intention is actually, I wrote it down. So I want to ask my trip, what am I here for? And what is going to give me meaning and purpose? And I'll be focused on safety. So really, meaning and purpose. What am I here for? That's the intention for this trip that I've set. Oh, one more thing. I thought when I was feeling neutral on Thursday that I was going to feel neutral or worse on Friday, yesterday, but I actually felt better than I felt the day before. So it was like 6 all week, and then 5, and then 6. So we'll see how this next treatment goes. I hope that even if I just got the results that I got this week for the rest of treatment, I would take that because it's a significant improvement over the way that I have felt working up until this point.